there's something to be said for this being being all over the place, right? And I guess I'd love to know from the developer's perspective, are they intentionally going, we'll overload you, your weak auras will crash and die, your computer will fail with the weak auras, just learn to play the game properly. Because there's a lot of stuff to track here, and I'm like, isn't that okay? Isn't that just skill ceiling up?
It depends if it's fun. We haven't played it.
Because are they bringing the skill floor up as well to a degree? Is that okay? Is that expected? What about the other one? Like, I don't really... I'm kind of lost on that, right? Because I get the point. I completely understand. And this is where I'm saying I'm actually undecided on whether or not more complex is a good thing or a bad thing. Because my gut instinct is more stuff that goes into this, more stuff that you can play with is better. But there's also that obviously you immediately go, and that's because you go, well, that makes it that could make it worse to play. What makes it better to play?
You want enough design to get the job done. You don't want too much design. You don't want it to be over-designed. Oh, overcooked.
Yeah, but how do you add things without over-designing it? Without it all been passive shit that doesn't matter? And that's where we run into the problem of we're adding stuff to your class. Like, but you did you when you designed the class for Dragonflight, did you design the class to be finished?
That's the trouble.
So how do you add more to it?
Elegance. Elegance is the struggle.
Yeah, because I think this is like very cool, but I'm almost half thinking, could you have gotten away with like just the middle bit here? Realistically? Could have just went, I mean, okay, there's stuff like the cooldown of spells being reduced by 10 to 30 for the affinity is fine. Like the additional stuff here for the cauterize reset is fine. The stuff here with like your barriers, do stuff, that's fine. It's just like is isothermic core and access frost a little bit random bullshit go? Because I'm feeling like Comet Storm also drops a Meteor, and Meteor drops a Comet Storm, and also you get the cooldown of Comet Storm and Meteor reduced. That sounds a little bit like we're snowballing into random bullshit go territory.
In a way, but what that actually means to players is boom, 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 proc, boom, boom, proc, boom, 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 proc.
Yeah. Yeah, but how much of the...
And maybe that'll be fun to some people.
Yeah, because like I guess it's like the problem of how much of this sits on top of each other to your playing piano a little bit. Where like so this is obviously, Phoenix Flames cast Ice Nova 200% effectiveness. Is this literally as simple as, say you're a fire player and you've got this, you hit your Frost Master. Does Frostfire Empowerment give you all of your Master stacks? It does with Flash Freeze Burn. So you hit Combustion, and now your Phoenix Flames will do an Ice Nova and drop the Meteor. Add your next fire boss, apply Living Bomb. That just seems like random. Like it just happens.
It basically
press buttons and things
it
explode.
does seem like you'll just guarantee to short circuit and explode.
Yeah, but like none of this is requiring extra button presses, right? Because you're going to be fire blasting and Phoenix Flaming anyway.
Yeah.
During that,
I think that the tricky part here is because I understand them wanting to get this out in players' hands.
Yeah.
But playing, is it fun to play? And some of that you can divine. You can analyze and be like, this will not be fun. Some of it is feel. And some of these decisions that they have made have probably been because they've play tested them internally and they've been like, okay, this is fun, we will try this. So you do have that weird thing where, you put it out to the community and then you do an interview with somebody, but really nobody's actually played it.
Yeah.
Which is sort of always going to be a bit of a trouble.
And then there's going to be people who play it. And people play it in Training Dummy. Go, this is fun. I like what this is doing to my brain. And then they'll take it into a mythic raid and they'll just start screaming.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, that was fun. But what if I have to not stand in fire?
Speaking of screaming, do you want to keep the Grove, Matt?
I love
This is what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so this... No, is it fuck? I'm going to do this shit. Fuck you. I'm playing Feral. I'm playing Druid of the Claw. I fucking hope not Wildstalker. I don't care. So, yeah, this is Dream Surge. You get explosions. You get random bullshit go.
I look at something. There are so many words I've already glossed over.
Yeah, because I read all this before.
Okay,
When you force a nature, you get some random bullshit go, which is just AOE damage on your stuff. That's fine, extra damage. Your random moonfires, that sounds fun. And by fun, I mean you don't have to press moonfire on people anymore. You can kind of go, trees, do my job for me. Thank you. I'll go to sleep here. Maximum astral power 20 is pretty nice. That's a nice little buff. So there's a lot of like nice, cute little baked in power things they're throwing here, which I enjoy. It is clearly a case of how can we make you feel a little bit more powerful at the baseline that's going to change how you play. Because obviously the extra astral power means you can bank 3 star surges, which means you can bank 120, fill up your Star Lord immediately. That feels good to play. That was one of the changes in Dragonflight that people were not happy about, was the removal of you can bank 3 of these bad boys. Here's the choice they talked about, where your trains can no longer taunt but do more damage, or you can have them taunt and become more healy taunty people, some more supporty for the case of you're running them in M+, or you take away the taunt, because whenever you taunt them in M+, people get mad for a variety of reasons. Some fair, some less fair. Just a general buff, cooldown reduction, stuff like that, a little bit extra astral power through them. But the actual kind of important part out of this is literally just Cinaris' Might, which is you just spam your Star Surge or Starfall in a row, you bank them, and it does more stuff like that. Same with your like healing spells. It's just you want to keep the combo of the same spell up for this. And
do you think this is too much design?
This might be a little bit too much design.
Do you think this is all completely fucking overcooked?
I think this is pretty overcooked. But
right.
It's
okay.
Natural.
Here's how we fix it.
Delete it.
Half the talents, remove half the system, and keep the bits that you actually want to make.
Jordan just because if we delete all of this, nah. Yeah, I can see things like the Force of Nature trains generate 3 astral power for 2 seconds. That sounds okay. I'm getting a little bit of a buff, but I really don't want extra astral power for 2 seconds from another source. That's a wee bit overcooked. I could take the reduced cooldown of Force of Nature, but I don't want to press it every fucking 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Is class design hard?
Oh, it is hard, but like, I mean, a lot of us are broadly happy. And now, could you imagine, being happy playing your mage, and now you have to have a freezer burn, frost fire,
you have to
everything, and then you have. You're sitting there, you're maximum level, you're fucking frozen fresh, you're wearing your tier, and you're one of those, and suddenly your mind and computer have both just blown up.
Well, here's the problem, because you can't add buttons, because Dragonflight classes were designed to hit the max amount of button problems you have. Because like none of these, Black Arrow adds buttons, and that adds a button, and that's fine, because Hunters are not on the press. Actually, genuinely, I wonder if they have something there. Yeah, this is starting to feel a bit too much. I don't know, because I initially thought that when I looked at these, my brain went, "Oh, you pick a tree, you pick a line, you have a happy day." And I was like, this one that gives Pap, your fucking Pap gets 2 extra seconds when a Pap procs. I'm just gonna pick this whole expansion. I don't care. See, Pelennor, you say it's largely passive. Yeah, do you ever have a brain that's too full?
Yeah,
this is like you kind of track a lot of this stuff.
This is just meaning. Okay, I'm beginning to be concerned that maybe a lot of this is just sort of meaningless detail. Then those people are like, but if you liked classes during Mist of Pandaria, I don't know. It's like people seem to be broadly happier with classes now. We're at the end of Dragonflight, and adding some cool things. Yeah, good, but this is a lot of things. Some of these do look like a lot of things. And it's like looking at it's like personally, I mean, I would rather just have, like, you get to choose, a new button and a thing, a class skin thing, and a new button. I don't know. This just seems like a lot. It seems like a lot of things. It's a lot of things. It really, I mean... You do just think of Dieter Rams, and then people are like, Michael, he designed radios for Braun in the 1960s. What the fuck has that got to do with video games? And like, yeah, sure.
Everything.
But, sometimes that's just quite a lot. I suppose I just kind of think, like, how much of this is just adding more complexity to the point where it just makes their future lives harder? I'm not sure.
New buttons in the skin, that's just confidence, Michael. Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
You've redesigned Shadowlands.
Whoops.
Yeah.
You do think about, like, what's actually going to bring a player back to the game? And it's
probably not going to be this fucking shit.
Wow. Okay.
I say that mostly because when you said that, I immediately transported my mind to someone who played some of Dragonflight and want to come back. And I'm not really one who will ever suggest maybe you shouldn't. I would say you should not hold back on putting complexity in your game, because complexity when it comes to game design and stuff is often what people actually want. People crave for the minds of learning. People crave, to go into the depths of despair trying to figure shit out. And they'll stick to that in the large case, and that's how you build like a larger thing. But
people want a perception of a large number of outcomes depending on what they do.
Yeah.
But I think an elegant design is, it is about a lot of possibility, but a low signal to noise. The signal to noise ratio.
Yeah, and
that's correct. Looking at this,
noise up was
I'm certainly seeing a lot of noise. Like in a lot of these, the only bit of signal is like, here's the new thing that your button does. Everything else feels like noise.
Yeah, I mean, here's like kind of the problem of like Grove's Inspiration. Wrath and Starfire damage increased by 12%. Regrowth, Wild Growth, and Swift Heat increased by 6%. Or Orbital Strike applies Stellar Flare for 20 seconds, and PAP does 2 extra CA or Incarn. And Reforestation grants Tree of Life for 2 seconds. I don't know if this is necessary. And I don't know if this is necessary. I feel like there's a lot of 2, 3, 4, 5% that add up across a billion different points that make you go, which does mean we should just go back to the Mists of Pandaria talent tree style, sorted.
No,
I'm joking, by the way. I am very much joking. Yeah, every tree is pretty much STAOE PvP, but like, so I'm trying to think of what playing. I'm trying to think of what playing balance would feel like on top of this. This would be different.
It's pointless.
I would much rather see the feral trade, because then I can think about it.
Just play it in beta or alpha. Well, that's the thing.
No, but just end the segment here. Let's not talk about this until it comes out. No, I'm trying to imagine like what does this literally mean for me? And it doesn't mean an awful lot. But why is it all so much?
Well, that's the thing. Why is it there if it doesn't matter?
Why is there so much for me to go? I press Force of Nature as a pumpkin now, and then I make sure and bank my Star Surges.
Because I think the thing here is, if you wanted to say have like Diablo 4 levels of buildcraft, well, then you're fully changing what the core abilities that you're using are. Yeah. Right? Because like in different D4, builds, like they'll be radically different to play. Like not even that much overlap between the buttons that you're using, the spells that you're using. Whereas you look at this, you look at a lot of this stuff in WoW, and it's like, well, you've always got the same core 5 buttons. Where in Diablo you'll be changing what those 5 buttons are. Whereas here you're just kind of adding, more buttons, adding little bolt-ons to it, sort of stuff like that. And I suppose I just get concerned about signal to noise. The other thing I get concerned about is they're going to get all this feedback from everybody who hasn't played it yet. And I know that there's obviously loads of feedback that is just done by sitting down, having a good think. You can really make some progress there. But for something like this, it's so much going to be about game feel. I would say it's probably best to be played. And the other thing, I suppose, certainly if you think about a lot of people who are the target audience of WoW, or should be the target audience of WoW, thinking about MMOs broadly as a genre and not just an esport on Twitch.television, and also the Season of Discovery crowd, the classic crowd, who do not play a game that resembles current Mythic rating WoW, are like, how many of those people are going to appreciate the amount of noise and detail that there is? How many people will be put off by that? How many people will see that and just be like, I have glossed over? That's what I start to think about. Just taking a step back from doing our thing of let's sit down and talk about the things that we've been presented with, and then thinking, okay, no, how about we maybe think about the first principles, really try to like examine the fundamental assumptions, and are the fundamental assumptions right? Do we need more design in classes? Is it maybe a better idea to put that effort into other things, other aspects of combat design? I don't know. And maybe they've done loads of tests and they've just had a low hit rate with those tests, which is totally thing they have. I don't know. But I'm just imagining, right? See, whenever we're talking like a new talent tree and, you're like, oh, look at the Death Chakram, look at this, look at that. And, you're thinking about this is a cool ability. Well, I have that one or that one. But I just sort of try to, think about myself hearing about this for a class that I don't play. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit.
Would that put
That's
you off
so
playing
much.
it?
Of course, just
Yeah.
details, boring.
Yeah, and don't forget that for every spec you have to choose between this and one other.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of imagining, like, as we're going through these details, how fucking boring and impossible to relate to is it going to be for probably most of our viewers? They're just looking at this, being like a frost, fire, freezer, burn, this, that, mastery of that, get the stacks and the thing, and that procs this, and then your meteors do and you're like, what was that game? Was it Mousetrap? It's some Rube Goldberg machine of things. And I just kind of wonder, like, being excited about an ability used to be, hey, look at Titan's grip. You got two big ones. Whoa. That's what would get people. But not just little tiny details here and there. And you sort of think like, well, if they have to manage this many details, well, there's also all the details that currently exist within the specs. Are these just going to start like fighting with each other?
Yeah.
Because you're like, how many tiny little passive modifiers have you got on basically the same things? And because you just get to the point where you look at half of those and you just think, well, could some of those just not be in the tree? Because, at least looking at some of the weird passive buffs and things, like, I kind of thought the idea was you have your core theme, you have one or two options, and that's kind of like that. Whereas...
they wanted to give you a talent point every level.
Yeah, no. Do it differently. Also, why it's the level up experience of modern WoW. That ship has sailed a long time ago.
I will disagree in the 10 to 70 case.
Yes, because that's like actually building up what your class is.
Yeah, but the 70 to 80 or 60 to 70 didn't need.
Yeah, it's like if you're then just being waterboarded by, the 1,000 lines of details, then that's not really interesting. I suppose, I don't know. Maybe that's just a realization I've came to through the stream. I also haven't read chat while I've been going off on this one. I don't know what people think.
So there's mostly agreement from people being like it's a wee bit too complicated in some cases. Although I did see someone talk about like don't aim for the lowest common denominator, and it sounds like a low brain. And I think it's not that this is too hard or too challenging. It's just, is it the right use of time and effort, and not just from the developers but from the player as well.
Yes, I am a pragmatist.
Yes.
That means that I can, there could be a version of this that's super complicated that for the class that I'm playing I would love, but pragmatically I could still think even though I'd love this, it's not the right move.
Oh, I'm agnostic. So I'm trying to think of like what is the best player experience going into like this, and I definitely think that like best use of time and energy is probably to hyper simplify this into a big choice. So I think. My answer kind of feels like just do class skins in one button. But then that's the Covenants, and you go, whoa, would have the same, I think would have the opposite feedback if that was the case they announced, because they can never do anything right because we're a community and that's how it works these days.
Yep.
But I definitely think like I can imagine a lot of people looking at this going, I'm picking the Warhead one, because there's people who do that already. And that's fine, obviously. Even though, like, I would have encouraged experimentation a lot stronger at the start of the expansion. But with like all the changes they made, and we've kind of ran a little bit back into a fuck it, don't experiment, because as soon as you add tier sets and everything and gear things, you fall into the capacity of.
With tier sets, it's okay because that's a seasonal,
Yeah, but they add to the complexity, and now you've got the the way the Ogvoker was stupidly buffing people because of multi-factor like scaling. I think it kind of feels the same way complexity wise here. We're adding another part, and it's just like this has changed my options from 5 to the power of 2 to 5 to the power of 4. Oh no. Which obviously that's not a very big number, but you know what I mean? Like 50 to the 10 versus 50 to the 20. Or like, my brain is very sore now. And then you get a result in that. And it's not that it's too complicated, is this the right place for complexity? And is a bunch of passive stuff that you have to click through and forget about, is it worth thinking about that? Would that complexity be better put into literal gameplay of button choices decisions?
Or even like,
would that complexity be better put into encounter design and taken away from it? And that's kind of where encounter design and pressing buttons falls into struggle. And then you think about balance as well, and you think about how they've not really been able to nail balance ever. Now they're adding more complexity to it, even though they started to get it into a pretty good shape. And then obviously you go for, tier sets. You know, tier sets will now be balanced based on spec and hero choice versus just spec. And now, because we already get the problem in Dragonflight, where tier set went, well, you pick this. Sorry, you pick this. Like the, what do you call it? The Amir Drasil tier set for Feral, where it is, you're playing Feral Frenzy. That's what you're picking. You're picking Feral Frenzy. And Feral Frenzy gives you a buff when you use it for a couple seconds, which means you're now designed around putting as much damage into this 6-second window as much as you can, which meant that now it wasn't like you needed to, and it was always the best, but it was you Feral Frenzy and Convoke. That's your gameplay now. That's that's what you choose to do because of the tier set. So you can imagine the problem of if we have a tier set in the War Within, the tier set will go, and you're playing Frostfire Mage, Fire Mage. And you're like,
you can be a Frostfire Fire Mage.
Yeah, or Frostfire Frost Mage.
Frostfire Frost Mage. Yeah. Okay, I feel like they didn't think about that bit.
Yeah, so I think that's Ali Sham has the same issue forced into Lava Bolt this tier set. And if stuff like that, you're like, if you're moving away from this or forcing away from it with your design, then maybe there's a little bit just too much, because you're kind of, you're giving players options and then taking them away. And then I think that's one of the problems we're going to run into here.
It's like, look, I enjoy, say, the Game of Thrones board game, right? But then there's so many people, and you try to do that, and they're like, rule set, bye. That's really annoying. I want to play the board game. So, I mean, it's just something to say about complexity, and this does feel like we are kind of sitting here, you know, the way it's like, I mean, artists will probably sort of get it, like the feeling of, you know, you're just not quite there, and you've just overworked the piece to the point where it's like, oh, this is so fucked, I can't even see left from right. I can't, you know, you're like, oh, help, I horizontally flip it and it looks the same. My head's busted.
Yeah, I need to flip my eyes now, like.
Yeah. So maybe my current feeling is many effort points, low output points.
Too many cooks, design-wise, potentially?
Simplify. Make it elegant.
Yeah, I kind of am leaning towards that conclusion myself, mostly because
just make it elegant, bro.
Yeah, just make your game good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just fix the problem.
Yeah. So one of the reasons
I was like, hey Matt, just fix QNAP. Just fix our NAS so that it works better.
Yeah.
We had a whole bunch of tech gremlins. Matt couldn't fix them, but of course, you know, whole point of the joke being, I'm like, oh yeah, just do it right, easy.
Yeah, just do it right for it. Yeah. So one of the reasons I decided this is too much is because I looked at this. I looked at what we currently have on screen, and I went, I'm not going to remember all these.
Yeah. You're like, why did Julius see?